Active. Samurai. Active. Samurai.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chapter 1 of Samurai of Hyuga. Just purchased the game. You can find a link to it in my description. Let's get into the adventure. All right, I got the speaking rate at 60%, so let's go ahead and hear it. I'm going to make sure I go as slow as possible and not talk over the text being read, all right? Here we go.
This upscale lounge smelled of steamed dumplings, far nicer than the sweaty drinkeries I was used to. But the sound wasn't right. As much as I hated those compulsive old gamblers, drinking cheap sake just didn't feel the same without the patter of Bakuda rolling bones in the background. Maybe it fit. This drink I was chugging down like rice water was going down too smoothly to be cheap. Luckily the kid was picking up the tab on this one. Just didn't know it yet. HMPH. I'm not sure how you can stand that bile. We're in one of the finest shishitsu in the capital, which serves the highest grade tea around. Can't you at least pretend to appreciate it? That buzzing, prepubescent and presumptuous voice belonged to none other than my tiny traveling partner. Lucky me. It's too freaking hot out for tea. Why don't you go get us a couple of rooms? Any excuse to get the kid out of my face would do. The constant questions and commentary were starting to bite at my nerves, and made me regret taking up this bodyguard business in the first place. The pout I was so accustomed to seeing planted itself on my companion's face. The reply was muttered in the whiniest way possible. Why must Cap I do it? My legs are just as tired as yours. The kid had a good point. We'd been doing a ton of walking lately. A few weeks on the road was rough on anyone, especially weak bookish types. I didn't voice a reply but instead let my eyes do the talking. They convinced the spoiled brat to move along, and I was left to a blissful moment of silence. Next, button.
All right, interesting story so far. Very well written. Let's go to the next page.
Next, button. Next, button. Next, button. The truth of the matter was, if I show stats, button. Samurai, heading.
All right, we can see our stats always in these stories. We can see our stats. They will change depending on what we do.
Show stats, button.
I'm not going to look at the stats right now. I don't think there's anything to do right now.
The truth of the matter was, if I tried booking lodgings at the renowned Sleeping Duck I'd be out of luck. There would suddenly be no vacancies available for a dirty sellsword who smelled like sweaty dashi broth. In case you hadn't guessed yet, I didn't exactly fit the image of a noble samurai. I wasn't supposed to be here. The eyes from my fellow patrons did their best to confirm this fact. As pretty as my face was, it was the katana on my lap that had them so perturbed. Yuck. Perturbed? I'd been around these nobles too long, especially the kid. But a job's a job. A well-fed man timidly made his way to my table after being goaded by his even better-fed wife. Sweat ran down his forehead to both of his chins. It was odd that he smelled so familiar, when in appearance he was anything but. There wasn't the slightest hint of bravado in his eyes. His gaze rested on the bare chest my loosely fit kimono displayed. What was he looking at, exactly? A man. Radio button. Checked. 1 of 2.
Okay, so now I get to decide what is my gender. I think he's looking at her chest, so we're probably a female. So let's play a female.
A woman. Radio button. Unchecked. 2 of 2.
Will be a female.
Next. Button. A woman. Next. Button. A woman. A man. Radio button. Unchecked. 1 of. A woman. Radio button. Checked. 2 of 2. Next. Next. Button.
Okay, let's go to the next.
Next. Button. Home. Back button. Samurai. Head. Show stats. Button. Less than you are a woman. Greater than. Show stats. Button. Less than you are a woman. Greater than. It was as if he'd never seen cleavage before. Might be he hadn't. Women in this lavish capital city dressed in at least 6 layers and looked like rolls of carpet decked in makeup. How they managed it in this heat was something I'd never understand. We were in the middle of the hottest summer in recent memory, which was why I was drinking the sake chilled in the first place. Though you'd be a fool to waste expensive alcohol by burning it. Passing up on this dry apple taste and rich cedar aroma was a crime in and of itself. Ellipsis. You are a samurai. The phrase was mixed with equal parts fear and skepticism. Oh, and desperation too. You had to be damn desperate to mistake a half-drunk sellsword like me for one of General Hisen's lapdogs. Those were purebreds. I finished off my cup of chilled bliss before giving a reply. I'm no samurai. Radio button. Checked. 1 of 2.
All right. Are we a samurai or not? We should probably not tell him.
I'm something even better. Radio button. Unchecked. 2 of 2. Next. Button.
I don't know. I think we should be a samurai. Let's tell him we're a samurai.
I'm something even better. I'm something even better. I'm no samurai. I'm no samurai. Radio. Ellipsis. You are. I'm no samurai. Radio button. Checked. 1 of 2.
Oh, we could say we're no.
I'm something even better. Radio button. Unchecked. 2 of 2.
Let's say we're something even better. Yeah.
Checked. Next. Button. Next. Button. Peak. Less than impulsive has increased. Greater than.
Oh, we got an improvement in stats.
Home. Back button. Samurai. Show stats. Button. Less than impulsive has increased. Greater than.
Impulsiveness has increased. Okay.
I bounced the hilt end of my sheathed katana up with a sudden jerk of my right knee. It flipped well into the air. Once. Twice. 3 times before I snatched it. Not a moment too soon either, as it was just about to do a number on an expensive flask of fermented rice. After a couple seconds the pudgy patron's reflexes kicked in and he stumbled back a few paces. I like to think I'd gotten my point across.
Yeah, we are a samurai. We can do something like that with a sword.
I'm no samurai, though you knew that already. And you're no Yamato silk dresser, not with an accent like that. What do you want? The last thing I had expected was to deal with fellow Southerners in a classy joint like this. Brought back the tastes of my childhood years, and it made me want to gag. The girthful man wiped the sweat from his brow with his sleeve, yet another tell towards his modest upbringing. I wasn't sure if I was starting to like him more or less, but I sure wished the kid would hurry up with our rooms. Please keep your voice down, Madam Samurai. I mean, the title one meant was, ellipsis. He fumbled around for the right word. He and I both knew the word he was looking for. He was just too afraid to say it. Ronin.
Alright, now we get to decide what we are.
Ronin. Period. Ellipsis. My name is Kinoyama.
Ronin.
My wife and I are here with our child to arrange a marriage with the Akiyama branch family. If you would sit at our table, your presence would bring us great honor. Kin whispered the plot as if he were a politician trying to usurp his liege lord. His daimyo needn't worry. The only thing this pretender could displace was a bowl of udon noodles.
Okay, so we are a Ronin.
The wife held up an orange hori, a formal jacket, and smiled from ear to ear. I might have underestimated these Southerners. If nothing else, they had come prepared. The scheme was to dress up a dirty Ronin and pass her off as a semi-respectable retainer. A family without powerful hereditary ties, yet had a samurai in their personal employ? That meant wealth, and lots of it.
Okay, so we're gonna play make-believe.
Honestly, this plan might just work. Should I help them?
Okay, we have to decide, I think.
Yes, it's admirable that they're trying to improve their kids' chances. Radio button, checked. What? Yes, but this isn't charity work. Radio button, unchecked.
Oh yeah, no, we're getting paid.
No, I just want to drink in peace. Radio button, no, I won't play a part in this deceit. Next, button.
Let's go with...
No, I won't, no, I just want to drink in, no, I just want, yes, but this isn't charity work.
Yeah, we'll do it, but we're getting paid.
Yes, but this isn't charity work. Radio button, unchecked. 2 of 4. Checked.
Okay.
Next, button.
Next.
He had, less than drifter has increased. Greater than.
Okay, we improved stat drifter.
Compared with hauling the kid all over Hyuga, this job was a breeze. And make no mistake, this wasn't a favor from one Southerner to another. Down there it was a dog-eat-dog world, and I'm not just talking about the expression. And while this current scenery may sport more cherry blossoms and giggling geishas than I'm used to, my stomach still couldn't feed itself.
Yeah, I need food.
I'll play samurai for you. Oh Yamadano. But not for free. My gut growled with anticipation. That smell I've been sniffing since I got here was finally going to be mine. Toss in a double order of dumplings and something to wash it down with. He nodded enthusiastically, and I reluctantly put on the orange-colored garment. Oddly enough, it fit me perfectly. He had mentioned a child, but I couldn't spot the potential suitor anywhere. Unless, ellipsis, aha, hidden behind the overstuffed roll of carpet that was his wife, a graceful figure sat. Far from being a child, this figure, thankfully, looked nothing like the parents that birthed it. It was the sort of attractive human form that forced my eyes to linger. What was I looking at, exactly? A blushing bride in full bloom. Radio button, checked. 1 of 4.
A blushing bride, so that's their bride. I guess I can tell them who they will be. Let's say it's gonna be a son. I think it's a son.
A bride who hasn't just bloomed. She's reinvented the hourglass. Radio button, unchecked. 2 of 4.
Oh, who hasn't just bloomed? I'm not sure.
A charming groom. Elegant but nervous as ever. Radio button, unchecked. 3 of 4.
It's a boy. It's a groom. Should we make it a boy? A hunk
of a groom. Muscled and shaped from top to bottom. Radio button, unchecked. 4 of 4.
A hunk of a groom? Let's go with, I think it's a bride. I think it sounds more logical.
A charming groom. A bride who hasn't just bloomed. She's reinvented the hourglass. A bride who hasn't just bloomed. She's reinvented the hourglass. A blushing bride in full bloom.
Let's do a blushing bride.
A blushing bride in full bloom. Radio button, checked. 1 of 4.
It's already checked. Okay. Yeah, that sounds right.
Next, button. A charming groom. A hunk of, next, button. Even, less than you are attracted to women. Greater than.
No. I don't know. I don't know what our little samurai lady is.
Show stats, button. Less than you are attracted to women. Greater than.
Oh, I'm attracted to women? Okay. No, I don't care.
Less than chivalrous has increased. Greater than.
Okay, chivalrous, we're attracted to women. Okay, interesting.
She wore a silk blue furisode, a kimono with sleeves that graced it off the ground. An elaborate display of cherry blossoms were etched into the outfit's design. A white sash tightened around her waist, which was delicate and slender. A golden hairpiece fit snugly atop a braided bun of black hair.
Okay.
She was breathtaking, and any man who sat across from her would consider himself lucky.
Okay.
I nearly pinched myself for fear that I was dreaming. Fresh dumplings, rich sake and a beautiful woman to enjoy it with. The capital city might not be so bad after all.
Alright, I'm a little bit of a playgirl.
I was about to take a seat wherever I wanted when I recalled that members of the noble caste liked to make everything complicated. Tried traditions and an exhaustive amount of ways to disrespect someone were nestled at every corner in high society. I won't pretend that I knew or cared about half of them. I like to think that I have better ways of wasting my time.
Okay, so...
Even so, it was customary for samurai to sit beside their lord for protection. The seat beside the strapping future wife was also open, and that was tempting for its own reasons. Where should I sit?
Maybe I can flirt with the wife, but I need to sit by the master. He's fine, but then he might get killed.
I'll sit beside Kin Oyama. Radio button. Checked. 1 of 2.
I'm gonna be goofy. I'm gonna sit by the girl.
I'll sit beside the blushing bride. Radio button. Unchecked. 2 of 2. Checked.
Misbehave myself a little bit.
Next. Button.
Let's go.
The less than charming has... With looks like yours, it's less than charming has increased. Greater than.
Oh, my charming has increased. You know, our little playful samurai girl, we're very charming.
With looks like yours, it's hard to imagine having trouble finding a suitor. I took the seat beside her and make a bit of light conversation. To the untrained ear it might sound as if I was trying to flirt with her, which I assure you wasn't the case at all. Just trying to calm the bride's nerves a little. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, right.
She beamed a tiny little smile that wasn't like her mother's at all. A thin upper lip and a larger lower one. Ellipsis. Where had I seen those before? Pair that with a sharp, downturned nose. Ellipsis. Makeup couldn't hide those foreign qualities. While her parents were markedly from Genfu, this was a different creature entirely.
Okay.
While I was busy being mystified by her facial features, she thanked me for joining her side. Thank you for joining us, Samurai-san. My parents have sacrificed much to grant me this opportunity. You being by our side, it puts their mind at ease. The words were light and flowed like a breeze, and bared no hint of the homeland she had left behind. Strange. Ellipsis.
Alright.
The collective silence of this odd family was starting to make even me uncomfortable, at least until the dumplings I bargained for arrived. My heart skipped a beat after seeing 2 plates packed with steaming gyoza placed in front of me like I was an emperor's son. The geisha poured the first cup of sake, with a fake smile as if I was her favorite customer. She was quick to leave afterwards.
Alright.
Akiyama. If I hadn't been entirely sure what the kanji, the fancy written characters, for Akiyama were, I was now. 2 men wearing green robes had the words littered all over them. They'd even have it written atop their faces if tattoos weren't decidedly yakuza. They may not have belonged to a crime syndicate, but they didn't seem to be nobles either. Oh, and unless the country of Hyuga had grown radically progressive in recent months, these 2 guys weren't the parents we were looking for.
Uh-oh. Yakuza?
You are the Oyamas, correct? Your daughter is very beautiful. The lankier one remarked, but his eyes were all over me. I'll give you one guess as to why. You have a retainer as well. Ellipsis.
Oh, you dudes think that you could just talk to me like that? Oh, no. You better be careful.
And here I thought my presence would go completely ignored. I knew that look. He was asking himself a question that confirmed what this was. It looked like I had no choice. The pause here meant it was as good a time as any to introduce myself. Unlike everyone else at this table and perhaps in the city, I had no intention of hiding who I was or putting on false airs.
Okay.
I tell them who I am. And, ellipsis.
Okay, tell them who I am.
Ellipsis. Nothing more. Radio button. Checked. 1 of 4.
I tell them who I am, maybe.
Ellipsis. My profession is a bodyguard. Radio button. Unchecked. 2 of 4.
I could tell them I'm a bodyguard.
Ellipsis. My ex-profession is a ruthless killer. Radio button. Unchecked. 3 of 4.
I think that's overdoing it. Telling him I'm a ruthless killer.
Ellipsis. Why this was all a bad idea. Radio button. Unchecked. 4 of 4.
This is a bad idea. I'm not going to be a coward.
Next. Button.
Let's go
ellipsis.
with,
Ellipsis. I tell them who I am. And here I thought my presence would go You are the Oyamas, correct? Your daughter is very beautiful. And here I thought I tell them who I am. And, ellipsis. Ellipsis. Nothing more. Radio button. Checked. 1 of 4. Ellipsis. My profession is a bodyguard. Radio button. Unchecked. 2 of 4.
Let's tell them I'm a bodyguard. At least let's warn them before they do something stupid.
Checked. Next. Button. While less than protective has increased. Greater than.
Okay, protection has increased.
I didn't even know her name yet, but this less than protective has I didn't even know her name yet, but this young woman I sat beside was under my protection. She wasn't really, but she sure would be a step up from the kid I'd been carrying around thus far. But that's enough about her. My focus shifted back to these 2. I know a couple of crooked cops when I see them. Their poorly concealed jit weren't fooling these trained eyes.
Okay.
While the jit was little more than an iron bar, it sprouted a hook made for catching katana blades. It was also the symbol of law enforcement in Hyuga. For a ronin such as myself, the weapon represented a guaranteed bad time.
Okay.
I fought my share of thugs and police officers in my day. There were surprisingly few differences between them. Both preferred to outnumber you, and neither cared for a fair fight. If these 2 wanted the pretty maiden beside me, I'd at least give them a warning. While you wouldn't know it from how nice a person I am, I didn't exactly come from an honest upbringing. In other words, I didn't have a family name. A single name sufficed. But what was it?
Okay, my name.
Akane. Akane. A name which has gotten me ahead in life. Ahead of all the other orphans in our daily soup lines, that is. Radio button. Checked. 1 of 6.
That's a cute name.
Emiko.
Emiko.
Emiko's
All the girls
cute.
get allotted cute sounding names, as if that made you more of a catch. This one means smiling child. I only smiled when I was up to no good. Radio button. Unchecked. 2 of 6.
Yeah, that's a dumb name.
Rin.
Rin.
I like
This
that.
name has no cutesy version. You can't even say Rin-chan without looking like you're chewing on squirrel leg. A delicacy only orphans are fast enough to catch. Radio button. Unchecked. 3 of 6.
Rin sounds like a really strong name.
Sakura.
Sakura.
Oh, Sakura.
Pretty common name meaning cherry blossom. It's how parents remind their children that they too will bloom, wilt, and die one day. Radio button. Unchecked. 4 of 6.
I like that. Let's go with Sakura.
Checked. Yuko.
Hiroko.
Oh,
The name means child of leisure. You know what they call a woman of leisure? A prostitute. Radio button. Unchecked. 5 of 6.
We'll be a prostitute. I like that even better.
Create your own name. Yuko.
Hiroko.
The name means child of Sakura.
Sakura.
Yuko.
Hiroko.
Create your own name. Yuko.
Hiroko.
Checked.
Okay, we'll be Yuko. Prostitute.
Create your own name. Radio. Next. Button.
Alright.
My name is Yuko, and I'm a bodyguard. The atmosphere was tense, though Kinoyama was blissfully ignorant of it. It seemed like he was too busy trying to sell off his daughter. I could understand that he wanted negotiations to go as smoothly as possible, but come on, ellipsis. Good sirs, my name is Kinoyama. My daughter is anxious to meet the young master Akiyama. Where might he be at? The nobleman, in appearance anyway, was rudely interrupted by a curt explanation. The type that answered a few questions and prompted a few more. Takagi-sama is at his mother's bedside. Unfortunately, our lady has grown gravely ill in recent weeks. We will escort your daughter to the Akiyama estate for a private meeting. It is regrettable, but we ask you to stay here until we bring around another carriage.
Oh man, that's rude.
I was so impressed by this tale that I almost felt like clapping. Maybe I was just used to the schemes of bandits and hoodlums. This one was far more crafty and far less violent. And from that understanding expression on the Oyama's faces, it was far more effective too. Whether this was a kidnapping for ransom or a high-class human trafficking plot would all depend on what the family could pay. And knowing these southerners for what they were, they'd be sending their girl right into the slave market. I felt a pair of eyes beside me giving me a glance. The would-be wife's expression was still difficult for me to figure out, and all that makeup wasn't helping my efforts either.
Okay.
Genuine fear snuck out from that pretty face, as it seemed at least one member of this odd-looking family knew what was about to unfold. Stealing her determination, the graceful figure arose with a sort of nobility that was difficult to put into words. I wasn't sure if it was the sake or something else, but I was getting an uncomfortable feeling in my chest. The sort of feeling a woman gets before she's about to do something stupid. I stood up. Radio button. Checked. 1 of 2.
Alright, we should probably interrupt this situation.
I remain seated. Radio button.
We
Unchecked.
can
2 of
remain
2.
seated.
Next. Button.
I
I remain seated.
I could stand up. Yeah, let's stand up.
Next. Button. As soon as I was up off the tatami mat, the two Akiyama swindlers were already pleading for me to sit back down. The lanky one even had a hand against his stomach, to make sure his iron club was still there. Never a bad thing to check before a fight.
Okay, you two look like you want to get froggy. Go ahead and jump!
You, retainer, needn't worry. We will protect her with our lives. Remain here until the second carriage arrives.
I don't think so.
He should not have said that. If there was one thing dirty Ronin like me couldn't stand, it was taking orders.
Yeah, don't tell me what to do.
Finally, I've been aching for some action. Radio button. Checked. 1 of 2.
Okay, I can get into some action.
A display of my skill will scare them off. Radio button. Unchecked. 2 of 2. Next. Button.
You know what? I'm tired of, like, flexing with you two. Let's just get some action.
Next. Button. The up less than brutal has increased. Greater than.
Alright, brutals increase.
Using my blade would have turned this fight into a joke, so I decided to make it more fun. With a kick that would have made a donkey jealous, I bashed my sandaled foot up against Oyama's table. It skidded into the feet of the unfortunate bastards. The sound of wood and bone colliding echoed across the lounge. It was an unpleasant crunch soon hidden beneath wails of agony.
Excuse me.
I moved in for my next attack without hesitation. The stockier thug was hunched over, and didn't have time to react as I reached over the table to grab the collar folds of his kimono. Usually I'd knee my opponent in the face, but I had a better idea. I yanked his head down onto the hardwood. Blood squished out onto the table after what had to be a broken nose and then some.
Ouch.
The other crooked cop had regained his senses, and held his jit out horizontally in the traditional style. His other hand hovered about like a drugged-up wasp, which I could only guess was an effort to distract me. What every vagabond needed to know about fighting police was simple. Every style in their handbooks was reactionary. This mentality bled into their minds, making them slower and less effective fighters.
Okay.
Action is faster than reaction. I proved it by bringing my still-sheathed katana down overhead like a chomp. I could even see the anticipation in his eyes as he brought his jit up to counter the blow. Except I wasn't a chomp, and I quickly recoiled my weapon as his arrived to parry thin air. With a twist in my shoulders, the scabbard whipped across his face, connecting solidly with his jaw. The jolt of the blow ran up my arms as a painful throb, but that was next to nothing compared to what he was feeling. Or wasn't feeling, as he laid unconscious several feet away. The bottom half of his face was contorted in a very painful-looking position. I guess I won.
Yep.
Star clap star. Star clap star. The foreign bride-to-be slapped her hands together twice in succession. For a second I thought she was applauding me, but that was before a group of a dozen patrons of the Sleeping Duck jumped to arrest and remove the Akiyama goons. Typical tea drinkers were nowhere near that coordinated, and I found myself getting real sick of not knowing what was going on.
Yeah, something's going on here.
You are very, ellipsis, effective at what you do, Yuko-san. Allow me to thank you for your aid in this affair. Affair? Just what had I gotten myself roped into? This all felt like one bad kabuki act, where everyone was in on the joke but me. I made certain to add this experience to the list of reasons why I despised Yamato. It was time to get some answers. So I take it you're still single, then? Radio button, checked, 1 of 4.
That's one thing I can ask.
If you want to thank me you can do so in the form of gold coins. Radio button, unchecked, 2 of 4.
I do want my coins.
Wish I had an escort of ninjas. What game are you playing? Radio button, unchecked, 3 of 4. I don't appreciate being misled. Radio button, unchecked, 4 of 4.
I don't need to get all upset. I'll just take my money.
Next, but I don't, wish I had an escort of ninjas. Wish I had an escort of ninjas. If you want to thank me you can do so in the form of gold coins. If you want to thank me you can do so in the form of gold coins. Radio button, unchecked, 2 of 4.
I'll get my money. I want my money.
Next, button. The less than stoic has increased. Greater than.
Alright.
If you want to thank me you can do so in the form of gold coins. She fooled me and ruined a lazy afternoon of drinking. That has a price, you know. If this exotic-looking beauty was half as wealthy she looked, I'd be able to squeeze out enough coins to end today on a drunken high note. She thanked and handed the fattened couple from Genfu a few ryo, and I was already starting to salivate at my potential payout. I apologize, but this is an official investigation and I am unable to pay unregistered civilians. But do take solace in knowing you have helped end a series of high-profile abductions.
Oh, come on. You hired me for an undercover operation, trafficking.
Great, a happy ending. The only warm, fuzzy feeling I was getting inside was the last bit of my buzz dying away. If she was expecting me to smile and laugh off being manipulated, and even worse, unpaid, then, ellipsis, whatever, I needed to check up on the kid.
Well, I'm out of here.
The gang of plainly clothed ninja had already extracted the 2 culprits, and the lounge at the Sleeping Duck returned to normal almost immediately. The blood spatters on the table were already wiped clean, evidence of my actions erased as if they never happened.
Man, they got good service here.
Unsettling. I was on my way out when I get a name and a healthy dose of foreshadowing. My name is Tashi. I look forward to working with you again soon, Samurai-san.
Okay, well, cool. Not that I give a rat's ass.
Next chapter, button.
Alright, chapter 1 complete. That was really cool. Man, I love that. The story is bouncy, man. I love this one. I want to send a shout out to Jordan who told me about it. He sent me the links to all the books in this game series. They are awesome. But that's it. That's chapter 1. I think I'm going to stop right here. Just upload this and just go chapter by chapter. This is going to be Story RPG Tuesday. So this will go on our Tuesday. I forgot. What do we call it on Tuesdays? I forgot. What is it we do on Tuesdays? I don't remember. You know, I have to just go back through my memory and what those playlists are. But what I'm probably going to do is put it into our cozy gaming so we can just listen and relax. But I hope you had fun. And this has been really fun. And again, thank you to Jordan. I appreciate you, brother. Keep up the good work. Send me some more good stuff. You are the best. Thank you very much to everybody here who came. Hope you are enjoying the channel. Remember, we're in the middle of a subscribe-a-thon. So, hey, pick up the game yourself. All the links are in the description below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe mostly. That's going to wrap it up. Everyone, take care. Bye-bye.